Chapter 1 Mapping the Earth. Our Earth is a unique planet in the solar system because of the existence of life on it. The surface of our Earth is made up of land and water. Land is also present at the bottom of the water bodies. In this chapter, we will study about the surface and shape of the Earth. We will also study about globes and maps that help us to study the surface of the Earth in different ways. The continents. Our Earth's surface is divided into 7 huge landmasses. These landmasses are called continents. In decreasing order of size, they are Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. Each continent is divided into countries. In terms of area, Russia is the largest country, and Vatican City the smallest. India is the 7th largest country. The oceans. Huge water bodies are called oceans. There are 5 major oceans. In decreasing order of size, they are the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Antarctic Ocean, and the Arctic Ocean. Shape of the Earth. In ancient times, people believed that the Earth was flat and that it had steep edges. Later, it was proved that the Earth is actually round in shape. Pictures of the Earth taken from space also reveal that the Earth is round in shape. Due to its round shape, we cannot see the whole Earth at the same time. Even from space, only half of the Earth can be seen at a time. Globe. Since our Earth is very vast and round in shape, it is difficult to do a comparative study of the Earth's surface. A model of the Earth can help us. Such a model is called a globe. A globe can represent the Earth in a simple and accurate way. It shows the distribution of land and water on the surface of the Earth. We can also see the correct shape, size, and location of the continents and oceans on a globe. However, a globe has some limitations. A large globe is difficult to carry. Space is limited and details cannot be shown on a globe. It is not possible to make a globe for a part of the Earth. On a globe, only one side of the Earth can be seen at a time. Maps. A map is a representation of the Earth's surface or a part of it on a flat surface. The word map comes from the Latin word mappo, which means a napkin. A Flemish map maker, Gerardus Mercator, was the first to publish a collection of location of a place anywhere on the earth. If you are given the longitude and latitude of a place, you can locate the place on a map or a globe. Longitude and time. Have you ever thought why there is a time difference from one country to another? When it is 1 p.m. in India, it is 3:30 p.m. in Beijing and 2:30 a.m. in New York. Let's know about it. When the sun shines directly overhead on a longitude, it is midday on all places on that longitude. As the earth rotates from west to east, places on the east have midday before the places on the west. San Francisco and Mumbai observe times that are 12 hours apart. This happens because as the earth rotates, the sun is first overhead in Mumbai. It takes another 12 hours for the earth to rotate enough to allow the sun to be overhead in San Francisco. Along the 180-degree longitude, there is the international date line where each calendar day starts and ends. At any hour of the day, a traveler stepping across the line from the east steps forward a day. Turning back, the traveler comes back to the previous day. The temperature zones. Climate is the average condition of weather over a long period of time. The climate pattern of different places on the earth differs. To determine the type of climate, the pattern of rainfall, temperature, wind, and humidity over a period of 30 to 35 years is studied by scientists, along with the type of landform and location of the place. The climate of a place affects many things. The kinds of plants and animals living at any place are strongly affected by the climate. The kind of clothes that people wear and even the lifestyle they lead are affected by the climate. Factors that affect climate. Let us find out in detail about the factors that influence the climate of a place. Latitude. The latitude of a place determines how much sunlight the place receives. For example, the frozen areas of Greenland have a very cold and dry climate. On the other hand, the tropical rainforests of Zaire have a very hot and wet climate throughout the year. The difference in climate is due to the difference in the amount of sunlight that the two areas receive. Greenland is located at the Arctic Circle, latitude 66.5° N, whereas Zaire is located at the equator, latitude 0°. Why does the amount of sunlight received on the earth vary with latitude? The curve of the earth's surface causes this difference. Look at the picture. Notice the two land areas in the northern hemisphere, X at the equator and Y near the Arctic Circle. Notice that as X receives direct and more intense rays of the sun, it is heated more. On the other hand, Y receives only the slanting rays of the sun, which are not as intense. The beam of sunlight at Y falls at an angle to the surface and therefore spreads over a larger area. As a result, the intensity of the sunlight that falls on the land is reduced. So, Y is much colder than X. Latitude and climatic zones. Based on latitudes, the Earth has been divided into 3 climatic zones. The climatic zones are sometimes called temperature zones. Each of these zones receives different intensity of sunlight because each is located at different distance from the equator. Let us read more about the 3 climatic zones. The torrid zone. The area on both sides of the equator between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn is called the torrid or tropical zone. The torrid zone receives strong sunlight throughout the year. The heat causes a lot of evaporation. This evaporated moisture rises up, forms clouds, and results in rain. So the zone receives a lot of rain. The climate is therefore very hot, wet, and humid. The days and nights are approximately equal The DRC, the land of dense forest. In the previous chapter, we studied about different climatic zones of the world. In this chapter and the next few chapters, we will pick a country from a particular climatic zone and study its various aspects, including the life of people living there. Let's first take the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. The Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, is a country located in the heart of the African continent. It lies in the torrid zone. The equator passes through northern DRC. It was ruled by Belgium till it became independent in 1960. It was earlier called Belgian Congo. In 1971, its name was changed to Zaire. Once again in 1997, its name was changed to the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is its present name. Its capital is Kinshasa. Land. Congo is the second longest river in Africa and the seventh longest in the world. The Congo Basin covers almost the entire country. There are high mountains in the eastern edges of the DRC and plateaus in the south and southwest. Climate. The climate of the DRC is very hot due to its location near the equator. The evaporation of water due to the high temperature during the day makes the humidity very high. This causes clouds to build up by the afternoon and rain comes down early evening. This happens almost every day, making the region one of the wettest in the world. In some parts of the DRC, especially in the south, it does not rain so much. While the summer is hot and wet, the winter is cool and dry. Vegetation. Due to hot and humid climate, dense forests are found in the DRC. These forests are called the tropical rainforests. Rainforests cover most of the DRC. They are evergreen forests. The trees of the forest are covered with leaves throughout the year. There are a large variety of trees and other plants. The trees are tall and form a canopy at the top. This does not allow sunlight to pass through it. Creepers, climbers, and shrubs grow below. However, at several places, the canopy is so thick that very few plants can grow under it. In some parts of the DRC, mostly in the south, where the climate is not so hot and wet, the vegetation is different. Instead of dense forests, there are grasslands with a few scattered trees. These grasslands are called savanna in Africa. Wildlife. The DRC is also rich in wildlife. Elephants, buffaloes, gorillas, chimpanzees, baboons, hippopotamuses, and rhinoceros are some mammals found in the forests. Lions, leopards, Prairies, the land of grasses. A vast stretch of land covered with tall grasses and a few scattered trees is referred to as a grassland. Grasslands cover more than one-fifth of the Earth's land surface. Most of these grasslands are located in the temperate zone. As you have read earlier, the temperate zone lies between latitudes 23.5° N and 66.5° N in the northern hemisphere, and between latitudes 23.5° S and 66.5° S in the southern hemisphere. The grasslands are known by different names in different parts of the world. Prairies in North America, pampas in South America, steppes in Russia, veld in South Africa, downs in Australia, savannas in Central Africa. You have read about it in the chapter on the DRC. In this chapter, we will study about the prairies. Location and land. The prairies are located in the northern hemisphere, roughly halfway between the equator and the North Pole. The area was once covered with thick, tall grasses. Before the coming of the Europeans, it was a grazing ground for bisons. Most of the grassland has been cleared by the Europeans, and today it is the biggest farming region of the world. The Mississippi and the Missouri are two big rivers that pass through this region. They provide water for irrigation. Vegetation and climate. The prairies are a vast stretch of flat land covered by miles and miles of grass. The grass is green in summer and turns brown in autumn. There are hardly any trees. The soil of the prairies, like that of all grasslands, is very fertile. This is because of large quantities of humus present in the soil. The prairies have hot summers and cold winters. Moderate rainfall occurs. Saudi Arabia, the barren land. Saudi Arabia, the barren land. Saudi Arabia is situated in the Arabian Peninsula, the largest peninsula in the world. A peninsula is a piece of land jutting out into the sea. It is surrounded by water on three sides. The Arabian Peninsula lies between the Red Sea on the west and the Persian Gulf on the east. Jordan, Iraq, and Kuwait are in the north. The Persian Gulf, Qatar, Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates (UAE) are in the east. The Arabian Sea, Oman and Yemen are in the south. The capital of Saudi Arabia is Riyadh. Land. Most of Saudi Arabia is a high rocky plateau covered by a vast desert. The desert is covered with small hills of sand called sand dunes. Strong winds and dust storms keep blowing and shifting these sand dunes from one place to another. There are no lakes or rivers in this land, but at some places in the desert, underground water comes to the surface, forming fertile areas called oases. Climate. The climate of Saudi Arabia is hot and dry because the Tropic of Cancer passes through the middle of the country. The country receives very little rainfall. The humidity is very low and the sun shines bright and hot throughout the year. You have read in the chapter on climate that these are conditions in which deserts form. Since sand cools down quickly, the nights in the desert are cool. During winter, the nights are very cold. Vegetation and agriculture. Since most part of the land is covered by sand, very few plants grow here. Besides, lack of water is another reason for this. Cacti and some short shrubs which can withstand the hot and dry conditions can be seen growing in the desert regions of Saudi Arabia. Date palms and some crops such as wheat and barley are grown in the oases. Life of the people. Vast deposits of petroleum have made Saudi Arabia Greenland, the land of ice and snow. Greenland is the largest island in the world that is not a continent. It is located towards the northeast of North America. The Baffin Bay and the Davis Strait separate Greenland from the northern island of Canada. The northernmost tip of Greenland is about 65 kilometers from the North Pole. More than two-thirds of Greenland is located to the north of the Arctic Circle. It is a self-governing province of Denmark and its capital is Nuuk, earlier known as Gotthab. The first European who visited Greenland was an explorer called Erik the Red. He gave the island its name. Climate. Since the Arctic Circle passes through the southern part of Greenland, most of Greenland lies on the frigid zone, in the northern hemisphere. This region has a very cold climate. The region is also known as the tundra region. 80% of Greenland is always covered with ice. Huge pieces of ice frequently break off and float in the sea. They are called icebergs. They pose great danger to ships in the sea. The southwestern coast of Greenland is the warmest part of the country. Most of the people live here. Vegetation and wildlife. Since most part of Greenland is covered with thick ice sheets, no vegetation is found here. There are no forests, and no crops can be grown here. Some plants can be seen during the summer months. Only those animals that can withstand the extreme cold are found in Greenland. Among them are the polar bear, reindeer, musk ox, wolf, Arctic fox, and seal. Several varieties of fish and seabirds are also found here. Life of the people. Inuits, Eskimos, who are the original inhabitants of Greenland, call their land Kalalit Nunat, meaning land of the people. They are mainly hunters and live by fishing and hunting animals found in the region. Inuits use the our environment. All the things present around us together constitute our environment. It comprises both living and non-living things. The non-living part of the environment includes three main parts: the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and the lithosphere. The atmosphere refers to the thick layer of air that surrounds the earth. All the oceans and other water bodies on the earth make up the hydrosphere. The lithosphere consists of the rock and soil on the surface of the earth. Plants, animals, and human beings depend upon each other as well as on the non-living parts of the environment to survive. The biosphere is the part of environment where living things can survive. Lithosphere. The earth is made up of three distinct layers, namely the core at the center, the mantle, and the crust. The core is made up mostly of iron, The mantle, which lies between the core and the crust, consists of molten rock called magma. The crust is the thin, hard outer layer that floats on the magma or the mantle. It is upper part of the mantle and the crust that make up the lithosphere. Thus, the lithosphere is the outermost solid layer of the earth. It consists of the landmass of the continents and the floor of the oceans. It has a layer of soil that is suitable for growing crops. Natural resources such as oil, gas, and minerals are also found here. Hydrosphere. Hydro means water, and the hydrosphere includes all the water on the Earth's surface. The oceans, streams, lakes, and groundwater, as well as the frozen water in glaciers, on mountains, and in the Arctic and Antarctic ice sheets. About 97% of the total water present on the Earth is in the seas and oceans, which is salty. The remaining 3% is fresh water, of which around 75% is frozen in glaciers and ice caps. Water on the Earth is always moving. It moves into the atmosphere and then returns to the Earth as rain. This movement is called the water cycle. The water cycle constantly refuels the water supplies on the Earth. Let's see how water circulates in nature. The heat from the sun warms the water in seas, rivers, and lakes. The water changes into water vapor. Since water vapor is lighter, it rises up in the sky. Evaporation is the process in which the sun heats up water in oceans, rivers, lakes, and ponds. Pollution and its effects. Pollution has become
the most debatable topic in our age. There is perhaps nobody on the earth who is unaware of pollution.
Let's know more about pollution in this chapter. The contamination of the environment, land, water, and air by waste, smoke, chemical, and other harmful substances is called pollution. Waste substances that cause pollution are called pollutants. The four main types of pollution are air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, and soil pollution. Air pollution. All living beings need air to live, but the air should be pure and fresh. Polluted air is harmful for their health. Air is said to be polluted when it contains certain harmful substances in high amount and for long periods of time. Causes. Some natural activities such as volcanic eruptions, forest fires, sandstorms, and pollen from plants are responsible for air pollution. These events send smoke, ash, and gases into the atmosphere. Factories and transport are major sources of air pollution. Factories and vehicles emit smoke, which in most cases contains harmful substances that mix with the air. Factories and automobiles burn these fuels like coal and petroleum for power, but they do not burn them completely. The unburned particles include solids such as soot and ash, as well as gases such as carbon monoxide and ozone. In many places, smoke from factories and cars combine with naturally occurring fog to form smog. Air pollution is also caused when fuels such as wood, coal, or kerosene are used in homes for cooking food or heating water. Trees are being cut down on a large scale for building cities and roads. What is ignored is the fact that trees absorb carbon dioxide from the air and give off oxygen and clean the air. When the number of trees in any area is reduced, the quality of air goes down. Effects. Air pollution causes various kinds of health problems. It can cause diseases like asthma, bronchitis, nausea, etc. It also causes harm to plants and animals. The accumulation of harmful substances in the air can also increase the temperature of a place and affect the climate. Another serious climatic effect of air pollution is acid rain. This occurs when certain gases created by burning fossil fuels mix with particles of water in the atmosphere. When these particles fall to the ground as rain or snow, they damage forests, soils, water bodies, and buildings. The sun also radiates ultraviolet rays, which are very harmful for all living beings. But the ozone layer protects the earth from the harmful radiations of the sun. Scientists have observed that air pollution is harming the ozone layer. If it becomes too thin or disappears, the harmful rays would reach the earth. It could cause crop failure, the spread of serious diseases like cataract, melanoma, a type of skin cancer, etc. Water pollution. Water is important for all living beings. However, the world's oceans, lakes, rivers, and streams have Pollution control. In the previous chapter, you studied about the causes and effects of air, water, soil, and noise pollution on our health and environment. By damaging the environment, we are damaging our own future. We should, therefore, do all we can to control pollution and protect the environment. Let's know what can be done to control different types of pollution. Air pollution. Air pollution is mostly caused due to burning of fossil fuels such as coal and petroleum in factories and also in cars and at homes. Ways to control pollution. According to a pollution control rule, factories and motor vehicles cannot release more than permissible quantity of smoke. Regular checks are necessary to ensure that factories and vehicles obey the laws. Use of eco-friendly sources of energy and power, such as wind, water, and solar energy, can help in controlling pollution. Your role to play. One of the main causes of air pollution at home is kitchen smoke. Instead of using coal or wood, encourage people to use gobar gas or LPG. Remind your parents to get their vehicles tested to receive the pollution under control certificate every 3 months. Soil pollution. You know that soil is mainly polluted by disposal of wastes on soil, land. This can be household garbage such as leftover food, vegetable peels, paper, plastic, glass, and metal objects such as bottle caps or wastes disposed from factories, fertilizers, and pesticides used in agriculture. Some of these pollutants such as peels, paper, and leftover food will rot and get absorbed by the soil. In this way, the wastes are recycled by nature. Such wastes do not harm the environment and are called biodegradable wastes. Other wastes such as plastic, polythene, glass, etc. that cannot be broken down by nature are called non-biodegradable wastes. These wastes are harmful to the environment. Fertility of soil is also affected by soil erosion. Fast-moving water and wind carry away top fertile soil with them. This is called soil erosion. It reduces the fertility of soil. Ways to control soil pollution. The following actions are being taken around the world to reduce soil pollution. Growing plants is one of the important methods of soil conservation. Grass, trees, or other plants are planted in areas where the soil is being washed away by rain or any other method. Farmers plant rows of trees next to their fields to stop the wind from blowing the soil away. Your role to play. Reduce the use of plastic bags. Use jute or paper bags instead. Plastic bags, when thrown carelessly, Natural calamities. Nature performs both constructive and destructive activities. Constructive or wanted activities include occurrence of day and night, seasons, evaporation, condensation, precipitation, etc. Destructive or unwanted activities include floods, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, droughts, and hurricanes. These destructive activities sometimes cause a great loss to life and property. So, they are also called natural calamities or disasters. Let's learn about some of these natural calamities. Earthquake. An earthquake is a sudden and sometimes violent movement within the earth, which is followed by a series of tremors or shaking of the ground. If the tremors are very violent, the earthquake is said to be of a higher magnitude. High-magnitude quakes can uproot trees, collapse houses, bridges, and roads, and even cause rifts on the Earth's surface. Huge buildings and roads can be reduced to rubble within minutes. The surface of the Earth has a number of interlocking plates on which the continents and oceans sit. These plates, called tectonic plates, are huge. Below the plates lie a layer of molten matter. The tectonic plates move around slowly on this layer of molten matter, carrying the continents with them. When the plates grind against each other in their movements, it often causes a jerk. This is felt as an earthquake. The spot below the surface of the earth at which the plate jerks is called the focus of the earthquake. The surface of the earth directly above the focus is called the epicenter. This is the area where the quake is strongest. The tremors of earthquakes spread through the ground like ripples in a pond. Precautions. Major destruction to life is caused due to fall of buildings during an earthquake, so we should move quickly to an open area when we sense tremors, and stay away from buildings, vehicles, and electric poles. Identify safe spots in your school and homes where you could move to when you feel the first tremors. If we are inside a building and cannot move out quickly, we should move away from windows and heavy objects that may collapse or shatter. We should not attempt to use electrical gadgets. We can crawl under any strong table or bed to protect ourselves from falling rubble. Volcanic eruption. You know that the earth contains molten rock below its crust, which is called magma. This magma sometimes finds a vent through the crust of the earth and escapes out to the surface. This is called a volcanic eruption. The molten magma that is ejected by the volcano is called lava. Flowing lava is very hot and
transport. All of us need to go from one place to another for different purposes. We usually move within our town or city. Sometimes we need to go to other towns or cities. Some people even go to other countries. We select the means of transport according to the distance and comfort. Means of transport are also needed to send goods to nearby or to far-off places. We are fortunate that we have many means of transport. But long ago, the early humans did not have any means of transport. They used to go from one place to another on foot. They also used a wheelless cart, called sledge, to carry loads. Invention of the wheel. The early humans could travel only on foot. They had to carry loads themselves. Then they started using animals to transport themselves and their goods. A rolling down log of wood gave them the idea of making wheel. Thus, the wheel was invented. The invention of the wheel revolutionized transport. People started moving and carrying loads on carts fitted with wheels. These were pulled by people or animals. Invention of the steam engine. The invention of steam engine brought another revolution in the field of transport. Steam engine was invented by James Watt in England about 240 years ago. The first train pulled by a steam engine was built about 200 years ago. At about the same time, ships using steam engines were made. It now became possible to transport heavier loads much faster. Modern means of transport. Nowadays, we have various means of transport powered by petrol, diesel, CNG and electricity. These engines are now used to run various types of vehicles on land, sea and air. They travel much faster and can carry much more load than the earlier vehicles. Roadways. After the wheel was invented and cars became popular, people felt the need for hard and smooth roads. As vehicles became faster, it became necessary to have harder, smoother and better roads. Today, every country has a network of paved or pakka roads connecting cities and towns and within each city or town. In India, unpaved or kacha roads are now seen only in remote villages. In industrially developed countries, there is a network of highways, also called freeways or expressways, connecting major cities. These are broad paved roads with two sections for vehicles moving in opposite directions. Each side has several lanes for vehicles moving at different speeds. Such highways have been constructed between important cities in our country. They are called national highways. India is also connected by roads to its neighboring countries such as Nepal, China, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Myanmar and Bhutan. Railways. Railways
Communication. Communication is the exchange of information or ideas between people. We communicate when we talk to our friends, either face-to-face or over the telephone. We communicate when we write a letter or send an email. News, advertisements and other programs on the radio or television are also forms of communication. Long ago, messages were sent over long distance through pigeons or horses. Later, the postal services made the task of sending messages much easier. Long-distance communication was revolutionized by the invention of the telephone in 1876. Telephone lines are also used to send written messages through fax and emails. Mail delivery by a horse, a message in a metal case being tied to the leg of a pigeon. Early written communication was in the form of pictures. Shown here are ancient texts written in pictograph from China's Yunnan province. Personal communication. Exchange of messages or information between two individuals is called personal communication. Let's know about some personal means of communication. Letters. We can send a letter through the post office or courier service. Urgent letters are sent through speed post service. Telephones. Telephone is the fastest and most convenient means of sending spoken messages. It was invented in 1876 by Alexander Graham Bell. We can talk to anyone in another city in India using the STD, subscriber trunk dialing facility, and to anyone in another country using the ISD, International Subscriber Dialing Facility. Mobile telephones or cell phones can be carried along wherever we go. We can even send short written messages, SMS, through our mobile phones. Fax. We can send an exact copy of a printed or handwritten paper to distant places. A fax machine is connected to a telephone line. The copy of the document reaches the receiver instantly. Email. We can send a message through electronic mail or email using a computer with an internet connection. The message reaches the receiver anywhere in the world in a short time. Smartphones like the iPhone can be used to make phone calls, share music files and photographs, and to receive and send emails. Mass communication. Sending information to a large number of people at the same time is called mass communication. For example, books, magazines, and newspapers communicate an idea to several people at the same time. They are means of mass communication. Today we know a lot about what is happening around the world. The invention of the radio, cinema, and television has revolutionized mass communication. More recently, the internet has become a powerful means spreading knowledge. When the art of writing was not known long ago, knowledge was passed on orally from generation to generation. It was not recorded in a written form. Because of this, knowledge was communicated to a very few people. This might also have resulted in the loss of knowledge. Slowly, better methods of recording and communicating knowledge came into place. Written communication. In the beginning, people drew pictures to express their feelings and to keep records of their animals. Pictures, mainly of animals, have been discovered in caves in which early humans lived. But making pictures took a long time. Gradually, the pictures were replaced by signs and symbols. The Sumerians of Mesopotamia, now Iraq, were the first to develop a system of writing called a script using signs over 5,000 years ago. They wrote their signs on blocks of clay called tablets. Many of these tablets have been discovered. The Egyptians also developed a script using pictures and symbols. The Chinese and Japanese scripts are still based on pictures and symbols. In our age, most of the languages use the system of the alphabet. Alphabets are nothing but symbols representing different sounds humans produce. The first proper alphabet system to be used was probably developed in Syria about 3,500 years ago. About 50 different alphabet systems are used in the world today. The Roman alphabet, which is used to write the English language, has 26 letters. Many seals of Indus Valley civilization have been found, but the script engraved on them has not been deciphered by anyone so far. This is considered to be the oldest script of India. No one has yet been able to read the script. Later, the Brahmi and other scripts were discovered. Most scripts used to write Indian languages today have been derived from the Brahmi script. The Devanagari script is used to write Hindi, Sanskrit, and some other Indian languages. Writing numbers. In the beginning, the early humans used pebbles, sticks, etc. to keep the records of their articles or animals. Later, they began to draw symbols or pictures to keep records of these things. For example, to record the number of animals they had. The Romans developed a system of writing numbers in which 7 symbols were used to write numbers from 1 to 10 lakh. The common system of writing numbers used in most part of the world today is the Hindu-Arabic system. This system was developed in India more than 2,000 years ago. The Arabs took it to Europe. The beauty of the system is that it uses only 10 symbols from 0 to 9 to represent any number, no matter how large it is. Paper. Paper was first made in Egypt about 4,000 years ago. The ancient Egyptians used the stem of a plant called papyrus to make paper. The name paper is derived from
Modern medication. The average lifespan of human beings has increased just because of the advanced methods of medication and prevention of diseases. Earlier, thousands of people died of malaria or tuberculosis due to the lack of proper medication. But today, medical science is very advanced. That is why we live longer than our ancestors. Let us learn about a few developments in the field of medicine. Medical instruments. Medical instruments help the doctors know the condition of a patient and how to cure his or her ailments. Let's know about some medical instruments. Clinical thermometer. Rise in body temperature is a common symptom of many diseases. The temperature of the human body is measured by a clinical thermometer. It measures the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit, degree F, or degrees Celsius, degree C. It was invented by Gabriel Daniel Fahrenheit in 1714. The normal temperature of the human body is 98.6 degree F or 37 degree C. When the body temperature goes above this level, we have fever. Earlier, doctors judged the degree of a person's fever by touching the body or by feeling the pulse. Today, temperature can be measured accurately. A thermometer is put in the mouth or the armpit of the patient for a few minutes, and an accurate reading is obtained. It helps the doctor in treating the patient properly. The scale marked on the thermometer ranges between 95 degree F and 110 degree F. Some thermometers have both Fahrenheit and Celsius scales. Today both analog or mercury and digital thermometers are available. Stethoscope. Doctors use this instrument to hear the heartbeat and breathing. Dr. René Laennec once noticed two children sitting at two ends of a long and hollow log of wood. They were whispering through it. Even the faintest sound could be heard through the log. The doctor was amazed at this. Dr. René wanted to give his idea a practical form. He rolled up a newspaper and placed one end on a patient's chest and the other end to his ear. To his amazement, he could hear the heartbeat of the patient. This experiment led to the invention of the stethoscope. Stethoscope has become an important instrument of modern medication. Microscope. A microscope is used to see minute objects many times bigger than their actual size. It was not invented by just one person. It has been developed at different phases of time by different people. Once the owner of an optician shop in Holland happened to look at a fly through two lenses placed one behind the other. He was surprised to see how big the fly looked. He used this observation to invent the flea glass, which could magnify things. The flea glass became very popular in Europe. Galileo learned about this invention and made improvement on it. He used two lenses to make an early version of the microscope. Nowadays, we have very advanced microscopes that help in the fight against diseases. The cause of various diseases could now be known. Over the years, scientists were able to identify the germs that cause diseases. Finding the causes made it easier to find methods of curing them. New machines. Apart from these machines, doctors and scientists have developed many other advanced machines that help doctors to know what is going on inside the human body. X-ray, ultrasound, CAT scan, and MRI machines help doctors to find the condition of the internal organs and bones in our body. in which the body is cut open to cure a disease or injury is called a surgery. Surgery is performed by special doctors called surgeons. They perform surgery using many instruments and medicines. After a lot of research, doctors have learned many complex things about the human body. Today, damaged body organs can be replaced by healthy ones. Replacement of the heart, kidneys, liver and many other organs is possible. Thus, surgery has enabled humans to live longer than their ancestors. Advancement in medicines. Detecting the cause of a disease has no use unless we have medicines or other methods to cure it. Many new and advanced medicines have been prepared to cure several diseases. Medicines help doctors do this. 2 drugs of great use to doctors are described below. Chloroform. Can you imagine how painful a surgery would be without making the patient unconscious? Earlier, there was no method to make a patient unconscious. Today, surgeries are performed after giving anesthesia to the patient. Chloroform was probably the first medicine used to give anesthesia. James Simpson was the first to use chloroform in surgery. Inhaling chloroform makes a person unconscious. She or he does not feel any pain during surgery. Penicillin. In 1928, penicillin was discovered by Sir Alexander Fleming. Penicillin is an antibiotic. It prevents infections in the body by preventing the growth of bacteria. Diseases such as malaria, cholera, plague, and tuberculosis can now be cured fully. Some people never die. Some people do such a remarkable piece of work for society that people remember them even after their death. In this way, they become immortal. They may be rulers, religious leaders, social workers, scientists, or others who improve their lives of the people by their teachings or work. Let us read about some people who made a difference in our lives. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was born in the year 1809 in a very poor family in the USA. He spent much of his childhood helping his parents in their work. Although Abraham could not attend his school regularly, yet he had a great desire to learn. He read the few books he could get over and over again. At the age of 22, he settled in the state of Illinois. After trying his hand at various jobs, he became a lawyer. He was very successful as a lawyer. At the age of only 25, he was elected to the Illinois House of Representatives. This was like the state legislative assemblies in India. At that time, slavery was common in the USA. People from Africa, who were called Negroes or blacks, were kept as slaves by the white people. They could be bought and sold in the market. They were treated badly, made to work long hours, and their living conditions were very bad. Lincoln was against slavery. This made him unpopular in the southern states of the USA, where people favored slavery. Lincoln was elected President of the USA in 1860. After his election, many states in the South broke away from the USA and announced that they would form a separate nation. This led to a war between the northern and southern states, which lasted 4 years. It is called the American Civil War. The war was won by the northern states, backed by Lincoln, and the USA remained a united country. During the war, Lincoln announced the freedom of about 3 million slaves. 2 years later, a law was passed banning slavery in the USA. Lincoln was elected president for the second time. He wanted people to forget the past and live in peace and unity. He made plans to remove the differences between the northern and southern states. But before he could carry out his plans, he was shot. coming of the British. In the ancient times, Indian spices, pearls, silk, gold, etc. were very popular in many countries of the world. Many of them had good trade relations with India. In 1498, Vasco da Gama, an explorer from Portugal, discovered a direct sea route from Europe to India by sailing around Africa. Look at the map given here to understand his route. The Portuguese landed at Calicut, now called Kozhikode, in Kerala and started trade in spices. The Dutch, the English and the French followed and set up their own trading centers. To control the trade in India and earn more profits, traders soon started fighting amongst themselves. The East India Company. British East India Company was established in 1600 by the British traders. In this book, when we talk of the East India Company, we mean only the British East India Company. Gradually, the East India Company acquired much trade from India and became rich. They defeated their other European rivals. The Battle of Plassey was won by the East India Company in 1757. Victory in this battle cleared the way for the British to establish their rule over India. Let us look at a few events leading to the Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey. Bengal was then a rich state. The East India Company wanted control over this state first. Without the permission of Siraj-ud-Dowla, the Nawab ruler of Bengal, the East India Company started to maintain its own army at Calcutta, now Kolkata. The Nawab declared war on the East India Company but was defeated due to the treachery of his own general Mir Zafar at the Battle of Plassey in 1757. A few years later, in 1764, the East India Company won the Battle of Buxar. Bengal was now under total British control. This was the beginning of the British rule in India. The East India Company took advantage of the lack of unity amongst the Indian rulers. They gradually defeated the Dutch, Portuguese and French East India Companies and also the local rulers and established total control over the whole country. Discontentment among Indians. The British started exploiting the people once they started ruling in different parts of India. India was a source of cheap raw materials for their factories in Britain. It also provided a huge market for factory-made goods produced in Britain. The Indian farmers were forced to grow cash crops like indigo and cotton instead of producing food crops. They bought the cash crops at very low price and sent the crops as raw materials to the factories in England. As a result, the poor farmers grew even poorer and many farmers died of starvation. Indian traders also suffered because they were not allowed to open factories and mills. Also, they were not allowed to trade in things of their choice. The British sold their machine-made goods in India at a cheaper rate. This affected the life of the Indian craftsmen who used to Gandhiji and the Freedom Movement. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born in Porbandar, Gujarat on 2nd October 1869. He went to study law in England and later practiced successfully as a lawyer in South Africa. At that time, the South African government practiced a policy called apartheid. According to this policy, the non-whites were considered inferior and were treated badly. Gandhiji protested against this policy using the unique method of non-violence, which proved very effective. His efforts forced the South African government to agree to several important demands of the non-whites. Gandhiji returned to India in 1915. Rowlatt Act. Around the time Gandhiji returned home, the British had introduced a new law called the Rowlatt Act. This law allowed the British government to jail people without a trial. Gandhiji started the Satyagraha movement against this unjust law. People took out big peace marches to protest this unjust law. The movement was always non-violent. Protesters were often brutally beaten, but they refused to strike back. Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. On 13th April 1919, about 10,000 men, women and children gathered at an enclosed park named Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar, Punjab, for a peaceful public meeting. The British commander of the army in Punjab, General Dyer, ordered his troops to fire at the people. The soldiers blocked the only exit from the park so that people could not escape. About 400 unarmed men, women and children were killed and 1,200 injured. The incident shocked the entire country and also some Britishers. Dyer was forced to resign in March 1920. In July 1920, however, the House of Lords in Britain pardoned Dyer. Non-cooperation movement. Shocked by the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, Gandhiji now demanded total freedom from the British rule. Gandhiji launched the non-cooperation movement in 1920. People disobeyed British laws and stopped cooperating with the rulers. Gandhiji's method was based on non-violence, and thus all protests were carried out peacefully. Prominent Indians such as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Rajendra Prasad, Motilal Nehru and Jawaharlal Nehru took part in the movement. Simon Commission. The growing freedom movement put the British government under pressure. In 1927, it sent a 7-member team called the Simon Commission to study the situation in India. The Indians were angry that the commission to decide the fate of India did not include a single Indian member. The Indian National Congress boycotted the commission. the Government of India. After independence, the most important task before our leaders was to make a set of rules according to which the country runs. This set of rules was put down in a document called the Constitution of India. India has 29 states and 7 union territories. Each state has its own government, called the state government, which is responsible for maintaining law and order within the state. There is also one overall government for the entire country, known as the central government, which makes laws for the whole country and also makes sure that the laws are followed. The union territories are directly governed by the central government. At each level, the government is divided into 3 branches: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The legislature makes laws for the country. The executive puts these laws into force. The judiciary protects these laws, settles disputes with the help of these laws, and brings justice. The legislature, the law-making body. The central government. The parliament is the law-making body of the central government. The parliament has 2 houses, the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The members of the Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people through elections. The members of the Rajya Sabha are indirectly elected. Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha is also called the House of the People because the members of the Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people. Another name for it is the lower house. According to the Constitution, the maximum number of members in the House can be 552, out of which 530 members are to represent the states, 20 members are to represent the union territories, and 2 members are to be nominated by the President from the Anglo-Indian community. Any Indian citizen who is 25 years or older is eligible to contest for election to the Lok Sabha. If elected by the people, the citizen will become a member of parliament or MP. The members of parliament elect the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, who guides the proceedings during the sessions. He or she is assisted by a deputy speaker, also elected by the members. The Lok Sabha has a 5-year term, after which fresh elections are held. Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha, or the Council of States, is the upper house. Unlike the Lok Sabha, its members are elected by the members of the legislative assemblies. It has a maximum The United Nations. Need for the United Nations. Wars are the man-made disasters that cause a great destruction to life and property. Including soldiers, thousands of innocent people also lose their lives. Many more become homeless and lose their livelihood. There were 2 devastating wars in the 20th century. These caused more death and destruction than any other war before. Many countries of the world were involved in these 2 wars, and most countries were affected by the wars. The First World War, or WW First, started in 1914 and lasted for 4 years. Around 16 million people lost their lives. At the end of the war, an organization called the League of Nations was formed in 1919 to bring back peace among countries. However, it failed to achieve its purpose, and the Second World War, or WW2, began in 1939. The destruction caused by the World War II was even greater. Around 60 million people lost their lives. Nuclear bombs, which are more harmful than any other bomb, were dropped on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan at the end of WW2. This resulted in a huge loss of innocent lives and complete destruction of the 2 cities. After the devastating effects of the World War II, the leaders of various countries felt the need for an international organization to maintain peace in the world. The birth of the United Nations. After the end of WW2, an organization called the United Nations Organization, the UNO or UN, was formed to bring about world peace. Representative of 50 countries including China, France, the UK, the USA and the USSR met to discuss plans for the formation of an organization. They decided on a set of guidelines called the UN Charter on June 25, 1945. At present, 193 countries of the world are members of the UN. The UN was formally established on October 24, 1945. So, every year this day is celebrated as the UN Day. The headquarters of the United Nations are in New York, USA. The UN has received Nobel Prizes for helping to maintain world peace. Objectives of the UN. The main function of the UN is to try and settle disputes between its member nations through discussion and peaceful methods. Some of its objectives are as follows: to prevent future wars and to bring in peace, to encourage a spirit of cooperation amongst nations, to solve social, cultural and humanitarian problems, to encourage respect of human rights and support freedom for all people. The UN symbol and colors. The UN symbol is a map of the world viewed from the North Pole. The map is surrounded by olive branches which signify peace. The background of the map is blue. The UN often sends troops for peacekeeping duties in war-torn areas. Peacekeeping troops try to bring back peace and save lives. The UN peacekeeping vehicles are always painted white, and peacekeeping